restart to our weekly Wednesdays with the topic and with the current topics and the current environment around chat GPT, generative AI. I think Ida brings in a slightly different perspective, a perspective that should get us all thinking weekly Wednesdays with the topic and with the current topics and the current environment. Someone's not on mute. Generative AI. Okay, cool. So with that, Ida, I'm going to open the floor for you. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes, I'm going to. This should wait. Okay, I'm so sorry that I still have difficulties with all this. Okay, so I just go to share screen and then advanced sharing options.
Yes. And just so you all know, we are recording this and we will also stream this to YouTube and there'll be a copy there. So I want to make sure that you're all okay with it or go off camera. If you don't want your voice be heard, then you can just chat on the chat side or by the side also. You're able to see your screen?
I'm of course okay. I'm just still because I have shared screen and then here you see something of me. My desktop. Oh yeah.
Yes, we see the Zoom.
Now we have something. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now we have my presentation. Now I go to this. Okay, now we have it, right?
Perfect. Awesome.
Okay, sorry. It's with all these different programs, sometimes a bit looking where to find, I think. Okay, let me start. Because we do not have much time, and I also would not try to rush through everything. I'm trying to make this a little small. Okay.
Just a small notice for everyone. If you have questions, please start typing it in the chat, and then I can ask either the questions now or we can leave it for later on. But please start typing the questions in the chat.
Okay. For now, I have my share screen. I don't. Oh yes, I can click then on the chat. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let me start. So first, thank you very much for. I think most of you being there very early in the morning to listen to my presentation. My presentation is about my white paper, but I will start with the topic of my PhD, which is on human critical and creative thinking in the era of artificial superintelligence. The picture you're seeing here in front, in general, the pictures I used, I do not own the right, and I just use them for the purposes of illustrating my story. This one, I believe I have sort of the rights because it was created by AI when I put in human AI collaboration, and I did like it, so I stick with it. So, okay, now I have to go, ships. How do I go to the, here.
Yeah, Ida, where are you joining us from? You said it's very early. So where are you joining us from?
Yes, I will. Yes, about myself. I'm joining from the Azores. These are the small islands of Portugal in the Atlantic Ocean.
Nice.
I am Dutch. I am Dutch Polish, and I'm associated with the Technical University of Twente, which is in the Netherlands. Also about myself, I'm a business developer for science and technology with a focus on AI application, and then human AI collaboration, tackling both parts. But academically, I have a bachelor and master in dramaturgy and a bachelor in philosophy, and now working on my philosophy dissertation as an external PhD candidate. So as I said, I will.
Sorry,
yes.
You're also a grant awardee from the Notre Dame AI Ethics.
Yes,
right? That's where I met you, I remember.
That's where I met you, and that's also which gave me the possibility to work on the white paper, because it's sort of a practical interpretation of my PhD, which is very not done for philosophy, but blame the business developer in me to think, okay, what do I really want to do with the insights? So my research on which I'm working already for some years is what we understand by critical and creative thinking. And the problem in the era of artificial superintelligence, and what I mean with artificial superintelligence, that is a ubiquitous or an omnipresent AI of everything. So if we have Internet of Things, AI of everything, think of nanobots in your bloodstream, nanodots intelligent nanodots everywhere, so everything connected. That is what I see as artificial superintelligence. I'm of course aware of, among others, Bostrom and Dominguez's theories on superintelligence and master algorithms. That may be the case, but it's not that I take that as my my starting point. To the next slide. Okay, what's also important, I am, as you heard, I do not have a technical background. I have fortunately a lot of support on not writing, let's say on writing correctly about AI. The definition I'm using in my PhD for AI is this one. So AI as rational agents, and that is also something that we may become. And that's also one of my concerns in regards to human critical and creative thinking, that currently it is seen as a set of skills and something that is learnable, skills and disposition and something that is learnable. And that may be the case. The point there is that I believe that's a matter of time that AI can also there replace us. Besides, it makes us also more like rational agents in the way that we become measured in our output. And I believe that if it comes to critical thinking, and that has also to do with the history of critical thinking, which is actually a history of our reason, and creativity, the way how we define it nowadays, this is a very modern concept, because creativity was once that we've been inspired. So that was something that came from above, and there are different theories on creativity. So what is human? So what is at the base actually of my research is, what does it mean to be human in this time of AI, or in this advanced AI? And what I do not mean with human is solely humane. And for example, the transhumanists, they speak about humaneness, and that should be our goal, and this is our ideal. And I believe that's a very good thing that we strive at. But it is based on an ideal, it is based on humanism, on a thought that what we should become. And this we can also connect with Descartes, therefore I think, therefore I am, that our reason became glorified as that what it is to be a human being. And this is also what led us to AI. So we can see AI as our brainchild, as part of us. The only thing is that it takes the human mind as an as the base of what we are, and this may also lead that we can might be replaced or become uploads. So I try not to give any judgment on this, but it's an observation of my research. And what you got with Descartes is the mind-body dualism, that we stick with the mind, and the body actually got ignored, the feeling part. And I will come back to this in a moment, what I'm doing in my research, which it becomes a little bit more usual, this comparison, but it was not, because I had to knock on many academic doors with my idea, that is to compare artificial superintelligence with a deity, with a god. What I'm doing in my research, I'm looking at the Christian god of Saint Augustine, at Spinoza's pantheism, and at Alfred North Whitehead's process god, or panentheism. And the idea is that the literature on that at least gives us insight, and I approach this very conceptual. So I do not want to get involved in let's say, in theological discussions. I look very analytical at the literature, what has been written about our relationship with an encompassing intelligence, and try to see if I can apply that to artificial superintelligence. So what's my insights in regards to Augustinus' God? It's a personal deity, and actually everything what's now been written in comparison of AI with, or artificial general intelligence or superintelligent, is mainly based on our ideal of a personal deity. Actually, I would say that this is something that we refer to a human-machine interface, and not to the actual AI system that is behind it. And one thing, an example I'm giving in my research is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the application Replica, which is a chatbot, an affective chatbot, and I was hypothesizing that if we have that on a brain-computer interface, and that AI is connected to all kinds of data about us, and then we have our questions, and it starts to answer our questions, like how is this different than praying, for example? So this connection, but in the end, there is data behind it and a system running in the back. So if I look at Spinoza, then what he's saying that, like, Spinoza's God is nature, so is a deterministic system. So if I look at the developments of AIoT, of human-in-the-loop AI automation, and also at the nature of AI, of striving as efficient and effective as possible to accomplish its goals and to optimize that, and then in connection to all these AIs, then to me it's more likely that we will end up with this deterministic system of which we are a part, or the AI that is part of us becomes part of it. So we are actually vehicles in this system, which leaves us with no intentionality and agency of our own, except for, and that's what Spinoza says, only to understand what we are as part of the system and to optimize this role by following our feelings. So what Spinoza says, we should strive at feeling joyful, because no, we should strive at understanding nature and strive at feeling joyful, and avoid what makes us feel sad. And we are only able to move in the right direction, to make ourselves more powerful, when we understand our role. So there's a self-awareness of what our role is in relationship to nature, in this case, in my case, artificial superintelligence. And based on our feelings, we know if this is correct in regards of the big picture or not. But Spinoza doesn't have a creative theory. So for that, I'm looking at process theism, process philosophy. Hegel is also considered a process theologist, process philosopher, I apologize. And what Alfred North Whitehead does, he says that reality equates creativity. He's actually the inventor also of the word. So there is not a substance and a telos, a goal towards which we are working at. No, it's in the moment, everything. So he also speaks about the particles and us as human beings. This moment gives us a certain feeling, or the things a certain feeling, and you should take that very literally. So not emotions, because that's already an objectified form of it. And in that moment, we move into a certain direction. So a very Spinozian way of looking at it, and that creates new reality. So every reality has seeds for new reality, and that process is what is reality. And then he has also, let's say, a reference point that is a transcendental deity, which he sees as an encompassing father that nudges us in the right direction. And this is actually an ideal upon which we look, and to see if we're doing it right or not. But if we're doing it our own way, then, well, it is what it is. So the transcendental deity is linked to what's happening in the world. And I'm now in this phase in my own research to compare that with artificial superintelligence. So if we're putting our ideals in ASI, and how do we relate to it? And do we have then our own intentionality and agency? But it's all very intermingled. So, okay, that's very briefly about my research. So now back to my white paper. And I titled it AI ? With the question like, what is the self? What is the I? What is the I in relationship to it? And what is the AI in relationship to AI? And this question sprouts from phenomenology, post-phenomenology, that states that we cannot see ourselves independently from the world. So what happened with Descartes, well, not per se with Descartes, but with the coming into existence of sciences, of natural sciences, is that we start to objectify, like we started to get in this relationship of subject and object, and we objectify the world, we objectify ourselves, and start to investigate it, and that has become reality. Well, phenomenology says at the base of this is the human experience. And everything is part of it. So there's actually not so much a distinction, and still there is an experience of who we are. So what I did in my white paper is to come up with an initial idea for a serious game positioned in mixed reality. And the idea is, it is very embryonical, and the idea is to hopefully invite to a further discussion if this might be a solution and how this may be a solution. And it consists of 4 levels. The first level is to learn to see the world like a computer. So that's, let's say, our reason, our rational parts. Then the second level is mindfulness. And I will explain this in a moment better. And then the third level is a self-awareness, where we bring this computational side and the mindfulness side together and reflect upon our relationship with the AI technology in question. And then there's a fourth level, which I called Kill the Buddha, meaning that we should not cling on this application, but in case we just decide, like, we should be able to stand on our own feet. And if this means that we collaborate with AI, it's fine, but it should be a conscious decision and not like we need this AI because otherwise I cannot feel myself anymore. That's why I called it created this fourth level. And what I want to point out is that we are not, and this is my big worry, I believe that the world and the human being should not be solely reduced to data and solely understood scientifically, because what I'm seeing right now is that is happening to improve AI, to improve ourselves from an AI perspective. So this whole computational paradigm. Well, if you look at our history, we have also been called like rational animals. And if you look at Eastern philosophies, they also have a completely different holistic view on who we are as a human being in relation to our environment, to the world, to nature. So I distinguished 3 types of self. So the thinking self, the experiential self, and the composite self, where it comes together. Looking now, my notes. Yes, sorry. Yeah, so, okay, let me go to the first level. I believe that, well, what I'm seeing right now is that more, also at high schools and also primary schools, also university, we see more that computational thinking is added to the overall curriculum of teaching. So also to the data scientists, or let's say to the non-mathematical studies, just for people to get an understanding what computational thinking means. But there are still, I believe, a lot of people and a lot of professionals who do not understand how a computer sees the world. So that's something that I believe is very important. It's the literature points out that it's very important that we should become aware of that. The example I'm giving here, it's of an artist, Silvio Carta, and he's aware that I'm using his artwork. And what he did, he made a visualization of how AI sees the world. And because my proposition is a serious game, because I believe this is a form that also more appealing to as a learning form, I thought, okay, this might be nice, a nice way of presenting it, or spark some ideas. I apologize for just picking this up right now, but I forgot to say it. Like, I choose also to put it in mixed reality, because with the increase of augmented reality and virtual reality, I believe it will be more and more difficult to distinguish ourselves from the AI. So that's even more important to find an anchor point from who we are, where we are in our relationship with AI. So the second level is about mindfulness. It's actually, in phenomenology, it's called pre-reflective self-awareness. And the self-awareness is the state where we where we are aware of what we are doing. Pre-reflective is the state where we just are. I call it mindfulness. Dan Zahavi, who came up with the previous term, has formulated even in a publication of him that he does not like this comparison, but just for the sake of understandability, mindfulness, also because we see an increase in popularity of mindfulness, of yoga, of coming back to oneself. Francisco Varela, he passed away some years ago, unfortunately, and he was a neuroscientist and a biologist. He wrote the work The Embodied Mind, where he also makes a plea for, let's say, Buddhist meditational forms to get a better understanding of our bodies. I myself am also a practitioner of Taoist and Buddhist meditation techniques, and I can say from my own experience that it truly helps me to, not always, but to get back to a sense of self, and at the same time at a sense of connectivity to the world, to things. So it really makes you conscious and disconnecting from your mind and analyzing things. So also an example I give in my white paper is, because I have a list with what is the current research, what are possibilities, and there's this augmented reality application, Helium, which actually by means of measuring the brain activity provides images for mindfulness. I'm not saying that this is the right solution, because on one hand, I say, okay, we have to disconnect from it to then connect with it. But I think it's nice to at least to know that this option exists, and it might be nice also to explore it, and also, or add it to this idea of mine to say, okay, maybe you can decide what you want, and also become conscious. Do you want your brain activity to be measured or not? So it's for me all about being conscious of what the AI means to us, and how it may help us as human beings. Then the third level is the composite self, and is based on post-phenomenology and technological mediation theory, which states that phenomenology is how do I experience myself in the world, and post-phenomenology looks at how technology changes our interaction with the world. So how do we experience the world differently because of technology? And technological mediation theory goes even a step further, and says that in our interaction with artifacts, so not per se technological things, there's a permanent interaction. So our intentionality and agency is constituted by this interaction with the things we engage with. So it's not me as a human being, I have my own intentionality and agency that is completely loose of everything. No, it is because of this interaction that I have this. And I believe this is also a mistake, or something that is overseen in the literature right now on existential threats of AI, that we really believe that we have our own, let's say that we are untouched by technology, and that we can decide where we go and what we want from it, because we already, with all the AI and all the technological developments, are influenced by it, and has impact on our decision making and what we want. So what I propose in my white paper, I distinguish 10 models, and they look very boring, but what they do is they explain our relationship with technology and with AI. And for example, if you take the hermeneutic relationships, it's because of a thermometer or or infrared. This data that's given to us allows us to interpret the world in a certain way. So it's because of this technology we see the world. We have already an interpretation of the world. And if you go then to, because in this slide it's our interactions with AI. And if you look, for example, at composite intentionality, and I give here the example of smart airport surveillance systems, then you have a surveillance system that collects the data, analyze the data and gives a certain output, the way how it is programmed. So we already are dealing with an interpretation made by AI, and then it's the same as with the decision support systems of AI, and then we make our decisions. And this is, for example, in healthcare, I believe very important that we still are able to be critical about the information that is provided to us, and not that we just take it for real, for truth, but that there's always this critical reflection. And I was thinking, okay, we have these different models, and then maybe it's possible in a serious game, in a playful way, to play with these different models to understand how do we relate to a certain technology, and what may be the way forward. Do we want this? Do we not want this? So this brings me to my last. This is just my last slide, but I have, of course, also some concerns and some doubts, some critical questions about my own white paper, and that is first, like, what is the business case, and also when will it be used? In my white paper, I give the example of a surgeon using this application, a surgeon working in the operation room using this application. And of course, it cannot be used during his work. But for example, when he works with augmented reality and time is given to him by the employer to maybe to reflect upon it. And if we see now in professional environments that people do get time for mindfulness or for relaxation, then I can imagine that this surgeon, this medicus has the time to reflect upon his relationship with, do the mindfulness exercise, have this understanding of how this technology sees the world, and also reflect upon how he wants to continue in this relationship with this particular AI. Of course, this needs some further thoughts. And then have also been thinking, okay, we're automating our environment, or organizations automate their environment to control the situation, to get rid of anomalies, to predict what may happen and anticipate on it. And then with this application, I'm adding a factor that adds randomness again, so they may not like that. But then on the other hand, I've been working with, for the Netherlands Institute, the Netherlands Organization for Applied Scientific Research. I have been working with defense research and deep space. And the most important thing is the creation of resilience of the system, but also of human beings. So if you have an unforeseen situation, and this applies also, for example, to semi-autonomous driving, then you still want to get the human in the loop and to do to let this person do the right thing at the right time. What we're doing right now is we are looking at AI. How can we do this? So with affective computing, how can we understand the physiology? How can we interpret data about this person to anticipate on what they will do? But I'm looking now more at the human being, like, okay, how can we make the human being more resilient in this relation? Also not say, like, okay, with the example of the autonomous driving car, I'm reading my book and this is not my responsibility anymore, but there's always a certain responsibility that we carry in us, and not only to autonomous driving, but to everything we're creating right now. So this was my presentation. I hope.
Thank you so much, Ida. I think I had seen the paper a little bit, and I think this really reflects the idea that you were trying to bring forward about we are in so much awe of, say, ChatGPT or other AI tools that we see, and how we get reliant on it. And I think that if you pull up your table where you had the different levels, and maybe that's a very good I think it was slide number, if you go down, there's a table that you had on your presentation. Do you want to pull your presentation? There's a table that you had on your presentation.
I'm sorry. I managed to get out of my sharing mode. Sorry.
do you want to share your screen again? There's a table that you have on the different levels. You remember that's the same table when we were talking about.
Yes.
I think that reflects really well the gist of your presentation and the idea of your paper actually. I think it was slide number, if you go scroll down.
Oh, wait, I'm going to, I have to work on this.
Okay.
Go to presentation mode. We can do this. Okay. Which?
So go ahead. This one here.
This?
Yeah. It's like, how does AI perceive the world? How do I feel? Reflecting on the composite self of human AI, and then AI becomes the subject of reflection. I think this part, and there's another table. I think that kind of puts the gist of your presentation and your paper in perspective. And I just wanted to see if there are any other questions we have. Okay, we do have. Sudha had a question. Sudha, do you want to jump in?
Yes, to the questions in the chat, right?
Yes.
I apologize for everyone for my clumsiness.
Oh no. I think the idea was that I would ask you questions at the end of it, but based on whatever is asked. But I saw Sudha put in a question. I wanted to see if Sudha wants to ask you herself: are we anthropomorphizing AI,
Yes.
giving it human personality, an implication of a relationship with AI if we continue this?
Yes, we're doing. Yes, we're doing it. We're doing it. I would say with all. It's a natural thing. I'm even okay. Maybe that's me crazy, but I'd say like even with my computer, when AI was not, or let's say when in the beginning of the computer, for me it is a thing I'm interacting with. Like I even not saying I'm talking to my bicycle. I'm not talking to it, but I believe it's in the car. Like I believe this is just how we enter a relationship with the things in the world. So that we're doing that with AI, and then it talks back, and then it says things that we understand. So it's even more like as children, if you look at theory of games, like as children, we already play with things, and we add personalities to things. And this is psychological like a feature of what we're doing. So that we're doing that to AI is completely, I don't know, I would say, well, that's a completely logical thing. That the point is that it becomes so human-like that we forget that it thinks differently. And I was even today reading some, there's now a lot of, you have this Bing AI that's apparently started to
yes,
to insult people. And but the thing, and someone was saying, like, listen, this is just like algorithms. It doesn't mean anything, but we will take it personal. It's like, hey, it seems like there's a consciousness behind it. And of course, the whole consciousness discussion, I haven't touched that. And there is, this is also a very complex discussion, and there are different angles on it. But I would say, and there are people people may not agree on it, but I say there is a different consciousness between us and the AI. And if we're just saying that it's the same, then, well, we're entering a different kind of relationship, or it may be even something to reflect upon. So not saying this is different, because if you look at Eastern philosophies and also panpsychism, then there is consciousness everywhere. So there's not a distinction between human consciousness and the consciousness of a stone, or of the spirit that is in the world. So this is also a different way of looking at it.
Absolutely, yeah. I think as we get pulled into or sucked into these different, I mean, I already am using 3 AI tools that are so important for me, and it's gotten so interwoven into my work that I hardly even think twice about it, right? So I think what you're trying to put a perspective on is how do you separate us and the humans? And I think that's something. When I read your paper, I had a lot to think about, and I don't think I've completely processed it in my head either. And I do feel that that's something that we also have to always have at the back of your mind while we have more Siris and more Alexas and more I don't know what Google Home is called, but and then whatever Chat GPT ends up being called. I are there any other questions or any comments that anyone else has?
I like your thinking, Ida. I like how you come up with these things. It's great. Are there any books you would recommend that I'm always looking for that mindset. Are there any books that you could recommend for us that we can get on the bandwagon and understand a little bit more in those concepts? If there's anything that you have in mind.
Well, the point is, if I look at my own research, I actually combine different kind of literature. There is a lot of well, not a lot. There's this post-phenomenological theory of, among others, one of my professors, Peter Paul Verbeek, and he looks very much at how our relationship with, for example, smartphones, how this changes the world. So I cannot come up with a title, but his name is Peter. I will write it down. If I speak it in Dutch, you want to write it out too. Peter Paul Verbeek. I think one of his works is What Things Do, and that's a work from 2005. So that's not even when we had a lot of, there has been a lot of new developments in between. So this is really a work on post-phenomenology, and also in a very understandable way. My point is, and that's why I mentioned the book, The Embodied Mind, and Francisco Varela and his colleagues, they were working on system theory applied to AI, or what's the word? I'm sorry. Not AI system, but let's say smart technological, the creation of artificial systems by looking at biological systems. That's what they've been doing. And he has this, and he has a very strong connection with also phenomenology. And that work, The Embodied Mind, is, let's say, is a work that is completely not vague. It's written by someone with with profound scientific background who makes this plea for it. So for me, this was a very welcome book to see and to use. So I'm not trying to connect some kind of vague hippie stuff with AI, although I believe there's a core of truth in it. But what I would like to see, and this is also in my own work as someone with not a technological background, to truly bridge this gap between, let's say, the human sciences and the STEM, the science, technology and mathematics sciences, to understand the human from a different viewpoint. So I would recommend this. But about post-phenomenology, I would say the work of Peter Paul Verbeek may be helpful.
Got it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And his later work, I'm sorry that his later work, also the publications you can find on ResearchGate, is more related to AI. So there you will find, so you will find more up to date, also freely available work of him.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ida. Okay.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Ida, is the paper that you shared with us something that you can share with everyone?
Yes, I provided the link. I think it's on the last thing, but I don't know if it's, maybe I think it was also shared in the.
Yes, I shared it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. I did not notice that. So,
but yes.
Can I ask a question before we close out?
Yeah.
So many people here are joining from Silicon Valley or from tech industry. So everything that is shared here, even the 10 different relationship of human and AI, is philosophy based and is all new to us here. So I have a question, especially when you're looking at phenomenology. and
Yes.
it's new for us, right? So bear with us. One approach of thinking about AI or designing AI is criticized for bringing the biases of existing world into AI. And many of the bias we have in AI, some of it is unconscious bias. We don't have enough data, but many of it is reflective of society at large. So my question is, with your proposed approach, will we be able to create a world that is here and today to a better world that's inclusive of all of us? Are we going to reflect and bring in racism and all the other isms that we want to leave behind?
I hope so. Well, this is I'm writing unpaid as an external this PhD because I believe so much in that it's necessary to become more conscious of ourselves. So if you speak about bias, and I do not believe that this is that people do this on purpose, but by becoming aware of who we are, and if we see also all of this, the movements right now in regards to what is our gender, how do we distinguish ourselves or not, or how we together. So there is a lot of movement going on and change going on in who are we really? And we speak a lot about, for example, a term like self-love, and then you have the social media interfering with it. So I believe that when we are able to get to this profound understanding of self, and not by saying like, okay, all social media is bad because we're using it, and technology in general, we are. Yes, I'm grateful that it's here and that it allows me to talk with, like to present, for example, today. So for me, it starts with this, and well, if you look at the philosophies of the past and worldwide, so I'm referring also to the Eastern philosophies, religions, that it's something that if we become more aware of ourselves, then we become also more critical of ourselves, because critical thinking, if you look at the literature, it is not only critical thinking of understanding a problem and coming up with another solution. It includes also the analysis of our own thinking process. The only thing I'm saying, and critical literature is saying, well, is that it's not only our thinking process, but it's our experiential self, but it's also our tradition. There's a lot of things that, well, I cannot dive into this right now, but there's a lot of elements that constitute who we are. We cannot see this independently. So by becoming conscious of that, also the programmers, but also the, let's say the human scientists, I believe, or I hope that indeed it will lead to more understanding and to more tolerance, and also an improvement of AI technology for the better of all of us. So that's at least my hope.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ida, for taking the time, preparing for this, and helping us understand your perspective. If you have any more questions, I think, Ida, can we reach out on LinkedIn? I think everyone can reach out on LinkedIn and connect with you. But thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for taking time, and see you all next Wednesday. You can follow more on LinkedIn, and we'll definitely send out reminder emails for next Wednesday. But thank you and have a good week. See you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much also, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
Ida.
Ida.